Welcome to Beyond the Lab, a series by the Office of Career Development within the Biomedical Research Education and Training Department of the Vanderbilt University School of Medicine. My name is Kate Stewart, and I'm here today with Dr. Cynthia Brame. Welcome. You were in the pharmacology department and graduated in 1999. So thank you so much for coming back and talking to us. Tell us about what you did when you were here at Vanderbilt as a student.
Sure. So I worked with Jack Roberts. We looked specifically at lipid peroxidation products. He's very interested in non-enzymatically produced lipid peroxidation products, both as markers of oxidative stress and also as mediators of oxidative stress. And I specifically looked at a class of these compounds that are variously known as isolevuglandins or isoketals. And what's interesting about this particular class of compounds is that they're highly reactive. So they don't stay as oxidized fatty acids sort of on their own, but instead react very rapidly with proteins and modify protein activity.
Okay.
So I characterized those.
Okay, great. So what did you do since Vanderbilt? What's your path been since Vanderbilt?
So it's been a little curvy. While I was a graduate student, I was using mass spectrometry a lot as a tool. And so I would go hear all of the mass spec related talks on campus. And I heard John Yates give a talk about a new software that he had written that allowed for sort of shotgun proteomics. I didn't know the term at the time, but I was just fascinated at the power that this offered, because I thought, wow, this is a tool where you could say, hey, what's different in these two cells? And you wouldn't have to have a hypothesis. You could really just try to discover differences and then use those to follow. And so I went and did a postdoc where I could dig into that approach more. I did a postdoc with Donna at University of Virginia doing a lot of biological mass spectrometry. And that led me toward biotech. So my postdoc morphed into a position in a biotech company called MDS Proteomics. And I did that for a couple of years. It was interesting. I was learning a lot. I was really learning a lot about science, but also sort of about how biotech worked and so forth. But at some point I thought, this is not what I love about science. So the reason I had gone into science is because it gave me a way to explain the world that I found very satisfying. And I was doing such specific work, and I thought, this is not it. And so I started thinking about sort of my trajectory at that point and realized that I had loved my time in college at a small liberal arts college, Centre College, and that I'd had great relationships with my faculty members there, and I thought, I might want to do that. So I jumped ship from MDS Proteomics, but I didn't have any teaching experience at all, and so I needed to do that. So I jumped ship and took a one-year position at a women's college in Virginia. Got some teaching experience. I discovered it was extraordinarily hard, but also very rewarding, and took me back closer to this, explaining the world. And I thought, I can make a career out of this, doing research with my undergraduate students, teaching classes to help them learn about the things I love and how to think like a scientist. And so after that one-year position, I took a tenure track position at a small liberal arts college in Louisiana. And I spent 9 years there. It's fantastic. I loved the classes that I taught. I loved the research that I was doing with my students, and I found a way to sort of merge those, so to take a research project and do it in credit-bearing courses, which is very helpful in a small liberal arts college. So it's great. But so taking that research project and doing it in a credit-bearing course sort of introduced me to the idea of discipline-based education research, and I got more and more interested in that. So I was still doing disciplinary research, but also delving into DBER some. And then I got tenure. And after I got tenure, I found my role shifting. So I became department chair and started chairing committees to revise the curriculum and things like that. And it was really taking a lot of my energy away from the parts of my job that I had loved, taking my energy away from working with my students either in the classroom or in the lab. I thought, yeah, I don't know about this. And so I was sort of looking around, thinking about options, and I saw a job at Vanderbilt Center for Teaching, which was described as helping faculty members and graduate students develop their teaching skills, getting to teach within your discipline, and then doing some research related to teaching practices. And I thought, oh, that's perfect. So I took that position a little more than 3 years ago.
Okay. So tell me about your current role, what you do, what are some of your daily activities in your current role?
Sure. So I do several things. So a big part of what I do is to work with faculty who want to consider different approaches to their teaching. So a faculty member in the sciences or engineering might call me and say, "Hey, Cynthia, can you come observe my class?" And I'll go observe, and then we'll have a consultation. Or maybe she'll come to me and say, "Cynthia, I need to redesign this class. You want to help me, tell me what you know about problem-based learning, or tell me what you know about peer instruction. I want to try to incorporate that." So I'll do consultations with faculty members at their request on anything related to their teaching. I'll also work with departments who want to make changes related to teaching. So, for example, I've worked with one department on developing a peer review of teaching process, which was so much fun. So they developed a collective teaching philosophy and then some rubrics based on that, and now we're in the process of them doing that peer review. Another department, I helped move through a whole curriculum redesign process. So that's working with departments is another part of what I do. And then I run a couple of programs. So, for example, I run the Junior Faculty Teaching Fellows Program, which is a program for faculty in their 2nd through 6th year. They can apply to it, and they take a course design seminar with us, and they do teaching visits, and they have consultations, and we have dinners with senior faculty around teaching ideas. So there's that. My favorite one is the Bold Fellows Program. This is a program that is for graduate student faculty pairs. So the faculty member identifies a problem in his or her class that they think can be solved with online instructional materials. And the graduate student then designs those materials, develops them, implements them in the faculty member's class, and gathers data on how well they work. So it's this lovely professional development opportunity for the graduate students. It helps the faculty members do something they want to do, and hopefully it helps the undergraduates, get sort of an improved teaching approach. And we gather data to find out if, in fact, it is improved, right? So I love it. And then I teach. I teach biochemistry in the biological sciences department. So right now I have 200 undergrads learning about fatty acid catabolism tomorrow from me.
Okay, great. So I think what's really neat about your path is that you talked about you making decisions about a switch. So you were in industry, you then made a switch to focus on academia, and then now you're in this research administrative plus teaching. What are some of the ways that the current role is a good fit for you, and what were some of the ways that you decided, okay, now's the time to switch to a different industry or a different role?
This position is a very good fit for me in some ways that I didn't know to expect. So this is going to sound ridiculous. I love to help people. I don't know why, but I just, if you come to me and you say, I've got this, teaching problem, I'm going to say, oh, I know this resource and this resource and this resource, and do you want me to look at your plan? Because I get a lot of satisfaction out of it. And that is 90% of my role, whether I'm teaching or whether I'm working with a faculty member or working with a graduate student. I also love being able to work with graduate students in the role that I'm currently in. That was something that my previous position didn't offer me and something that I didn't know I wanted. But I find it really rewarding to work with graduate students who, as junior colleagues, who are really bringing a lot to the table for these projects that we share. So those are really rewarding things. I also like working at an institution like Vanderbilt. So there are many positive things about small liberal arts colleges, but they are small and they tend to be in isolated places. And so the opportunity for connections is more limited. So those are things about this position that make it a really good fit. As to what led me to make those transitions previously, I think that I was just sort of attentive to my satisfaction. And frankly, I would like to be satisfied with my career path all the time. And so if I'm not satisfied at a particular point in time that's longer than, say, 3 days, right? Then I'm going to start thinking, what is it about this that I'm not pleased with, and why, and what can I do about it? And usually that will lead to changes sort of internally. But in 2 occasions in my life, it's led me to make external changes.
Okay, good. So if a student is interested in doing something that you do now, what are some of the activities that they need to do or skills they need to gain now as a trainee, as a grad student or postdoc that would help them better prepared to be your current role?
So they need to become familiar with some of the literature on teaching. So many of us come to teaching through just giving it a shot and figuring out what works and doesn't work. And that's a good way to get started. But there is a robust literature on teaching and learning. There is a robust and growing literature on discipline-based practices in teaching. And so graduate students and postdocs who are interested either in teaching as a big part of their career or in faculty development need to become familiar with some of that literature.
Okay, great. I'm sure you have done some networking over the course of your career path. What are some of the ways that you approach networking and what works for you?
So I'm one of those people who is uncomfortable with the word networking, even though I know we always do it. So I really think of it as meeting colleagues with common interests. So for example, this summer I went to a Gordon conference on biology education research because I knew that there would be a lot of people there who have interests very similar to mine. I would know some of them, but I wouldn't know others. This January, I'm going to a faculty development network for biology and for biology faculty developers, I guess is what it's called. And again, I'll know some of them, I won't know some of them, but we have this really potent shared interest in teaching biology, and in helping our colleagues develop their skills in that.
Okay, great. If you had to repeat your graduate school training, what do you think you would do differently? Or what are some words of wisdom that you would give your graduate students now?
So I don't know that this relates very much to my career path, but one of the things that I wish that I had done differently in graduate school is to treat it more as a learning experience, right? So I was very focused on doing the research and having a project that told a story, and that's a pro in graduate school. But I think where I let that go astray sometimes is that if something was an offshoot that could have taught me something, I did not follow that offshoot, right? I was very focused on the end goal. And I think I got out of graduate school quickly. I think spending another 6 months or a year in graduate school and following the twisty path a little bit more would have been fine and would have been beneficial, perhaps.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for coming. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.